What's up, guys? It's Dynasty from Mountaintops. I'm Mickey, along with Jimmy and Jeremy. Jimmy, how you doing today?
Good. I'm on spring break, so I'm off all week. So took a bath today. I have
good.
a
Once a month,
mani pedi tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna pamper myself this week.
So two showers in a week. That's good.
I shower every day, but I did shower and take a bath today, so that was quite nice.
Wow. Okay. So that is a little pampering.
Yes.
Having enough time to take a bath with two kids is kind of amazing. So
yes, well they're at school, so that's great.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Jeremy, how about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Just getting nestled back in from the week off last week. So, House of Mouse is as crazy, as expensive, and as busy as advertised, and it didn't surprise me.
It's probably worth every penny.
Sorry?
It's probably worth every penny.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, it was once in a lifetime opportunity for the kids and I, and parental memories made forever. So you can't put a price tag on that.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. You guys, we're coming off of St. Patty's Parade weekend. I know here it's insane. Jimmy, I was with you last year, and it wasn't so crazy, but it was still a lot of fun.
Well, we did have March Madness last year, so that was kind of we were kind of very isolated. So it's big earlier this year,
which was awesome. But we had the championships yesterday and Saturday, so that was kind of awesome too. Conference championships and stuff, so that'll be fun. But we're not here to talk about basketball. We're here to talk about football, even though it's only March and it is football season. It is also getting to be draft season, so we're going to do a full show about draft picks, draft positioning, when to trade, what to trade, why to trade. It's Jimmy's little baby today because he is the trade guru in our little group of three here. He loves the draft. I love the draft too, but I never have picks in the draft for fantasy, so never have to worry about it. He has 80 picks in the draft and always needs to worry about it. So, Jimmy, I'm gonna let you start this off for us. What's on your mind, man? Talk about the draft.
It's interesting because I'm in 3 leagues and I've not been able to get any traction going yet. And I think this is the time to be getting deals done. I think this is a time of the year where people haven't really checked back in from the Super Bowl yet, or even from playoffs and week 17 of setting lineups. So I think it's on the verge. Right, free agency was kind of a dud this year. There wasn't much impactful players, so now we're just kind of got the draft, and what we have, like 7 weeks left, something like that, 6 weeks. So I think this is the time of year to be getting trades done. Like in the years past, I've talked to a few buddies about this. I'm like, I would already have my tiers set and try to be moving into my tiers who I feel comfortable with. But man, this year, maybe I'm wrong, and I'd be kind of curious. I know, Jeremy, you're just starting to dive into it, but I don't really have tiers this year, and I don't know if it's more because this is such a running back heavy draft, and we don't know how many running backs we can go in the first, second, third, fourth. So that will really help us determine some of those tiers. But I'm having a hard time moving around because I don't know how far to trade back. In the years past, I'd be trying to trade up to get into my tiers, but I feel like this year with so many running backs, I don't know if I'm trying to do that this year. I think I'm trying to trade back more this year, but also I don't know how far to trade back. So that's why I came to you guys. I'm like, let's do a trade show because I think we should start trying to hone in, engage, and what is it going to cost to trade back? We're going to look at some trades out there and kind of and that will probably help me take some data away and say, okay, maybe this is where I need to start zoning in on what it's going to cost to trade back. Because I have picks throughout. I know the 105 in every league, and I've had a few friends reach up about trading up to the 105, but it's 108, 110, 112, 114. Is that too far back, or do I need to stay, closer to the 105? So that's where I really wanted to talk about this today.
All right. So I think it's a good idea to talk about this as well because everyone out there is unlike me who doesn't necessarily value draft picks, but a lot of people do. So they need to know what's going on. And if I had first round picks, I have one, I think, in our golf league, but it's a 111, so whatever. That's a crapshoot anyway. I like the idea though because it is something that people need to kind of look at. And I always try to figure out where my tiers are as well. And by this point, I usually have them figured out, like you said. And I think the problem is that it's not necessarily too many running backs. It's just the running backs are usually an afterthought for me. But this year they're so talented that they jump into those higher tiers than what they normally would. And the wide receivers are so low that they fall to the same tier as those second tier running backs or top tier running backs. And the quarterbacks aren't as good. The tight ends are good but not great. Like it all kind of just gets jumbled in the middle, if that makes sense. Except for one guy, and obviously I have a first tier guy.
Yeah.
So, and you guys all know who it is already. Ashton Genty is by far, in my opinion, the number one guy here. I was listening to an NFL draft podcast, actual draft podcast, and they have them like 4 to 10 in their like overall and all that. I have them 2. Like I don't see anyone who's better than this guy except for maybe Travis Hunter because of what he can do offense, defense. But anyway, my second tier, I mean, there's 4 running backs, there's 3 wide receivers, there's 2 tight ends, probably 1.5, maybe 2 quarterbacks. Hopefully Jackson Dart gets up that high. So it's a jumbled mess, is what I've noticed until the NFL draft.
And I think there's a lot of question marks, right? Travis Hunter, what are we going to do with him?
Mm-hmm.
The quarterbacks all seem to have a question mark. Where does Jackson Dart go? The running backs feel safe, but we need to know where they're going, right? And, even this time of year, too, like they're trying to break down Tim McMillan and tear him down. And then it's like, who's next? Burden had a bad year. And Golden seems to be he has hype, but he's got some contested catch issues. So, like, that's probably it too. Like it feels deeper this year, but also there's more question marks this year than we had last year. So that's probably what's causes some issues as well.
And everyone seems to be really sorry, Jeremy. We'll get you in just a second here. But all the wide receivers, especially, seem to be again, except for Ted, is a little bit, I think, more put on a pedestal than the rest of them. But they're all kind of jumbled up, especially now that Burden's kind of fallen a little bit. Golden had a great combine from what I saw. Igbuka's just kind of been that steady Eddie where he hasn't really fluctuated. People are just moving around him, if that makes sense. And I think he's number 2 rated right now. No one knows what's happening with Hunter, which I would really love to get some idea on that because if he's going to be wide receiver, him and Ted are 1A, 1B wide receiver, and I don't know which one's better. I don't know which one's worse. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, the tiers are usually how we move around in this. So I was trying to think of like where my tiers are, and like I said, if you don't have the 101, you're probably not going to get it unless you're really out there working for it. But like the 102, 103, 104, it's kind of its own tier in my opinion. And then after that, you got a lot of possibilities. Like it could be almost a 12 position or 12 spot tier because they're so congested. If that makes, I don't know if that's the right word for it. But Jeremy, what about you? What do you think?
Well, on what? You guys talked for 20 minutes. On which aspect?
What do you
general?
Yeah.
I guess I'll just add where I'm at standing here. My current position is I don't necessarily have my players tiered. I feel that I have I focus right now, I guess, on this particular moment on player comps because it allows me to start associating different running back styles with all the different running backs that are coming in, especially with the field being as wide as it is. So I kind of look into the player comps and start getting comparables into what kind of players that I like versus what kind of players that they're going to be. So when the draft does happen, I can kind of see exactly how they fit into that scheme. Right now, I'm not to sound like I'm reading a script from Jim, but right now I'm going into straight value. I have no ranking whatsoever at this moment. I am currently active in our league, trying to obtain picks higher than where I'm at. I currently have the 106 and the 113. I'm actively shopping that 13. I'm looking into combining it with either a player or some picks, but right now I'm looking into the value of the picks themselves. We can joke or be serious in regards to how I feel about the ranking of the players pre-draft versus post. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm kind of if individuals like to rank the players pre-draft, that's fine. I go post. So right now I'm trying to get as much ammunition and value as I possibly can. Because when the April draft does occur, then I have the position players and I have the valued picks that I want. I find it easier for me to accept a trade back after the draft. I've always felt that there could be a significant amount of seller's remorse trading back pre-draft, because if you fall in love with a player or fall in love with a landing spot and you had that position, you're kicking yourself for pretty much that player's career until you get your hands on them. So in regards to that aspect, that's where I'm at. So right now I am actively trying to obtain just value in picks. That way, when the draft does happen and there is certain players that fall in certain teams, I'm already prepared with what ammunition I have. So just like Jim, I think now's a great time to shop. I think now's the time that I'm doing it. I personally I check out immediately after the playoffs are done, once the fantasy playoffs are done in regards to Dynasty. So I've already had my break. So now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start going into there and moving around my draft picks pre-NFL draft to obtain as much value as I can. So come April's draft, when the players are, in my eyes, then ranked, I can then prioritize if I want a player at a higher pick, or then I can move back.
All right, so with that, we're going to jump into, I guess, the first pick that we wanted to talk about today, Jim, the 102.
Sure.
All right. So we looked at, so I guess, first of all, if you have the 102, are you working to find a way to get to the 101, or do you think it doesn't matter?
I don't think I am. I think I'm probably staying put because I think I can get, let me rephrase. If I could get up for a second, something like that, I probably would, just to have that control. But I think for the most part, the 102, you could get that running back, Amari Hampton or Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson. You can get the wide receiver one of your choice. You can get the quarterback one of your choice. So I think it's just kind of, outside of just wanting to have that control, that flexibility, because, there's a lot that could happen between now. We're missing the final piece of the puzzle, which is what Jeremy is so excited for, which is the draft capital. I keep hearing Gentry to the Raiders in 6. Not great, you look at Dallas. I don't think that's as great as a spot as people think it is. So, if Amarion goes to, was it 20, the Chargers, then that might be a better spot. So you could see some different things there. So if I can get up cheaply, I would, but otherwise I'd probably be looking to make that pick, or like Jeremy was saying earlier, maybe trade back to the 105, 106, because, I'll let everyone else make decisions for me. And that seems to go, I feel like I have a better hit rate there because I'll let them make the mistakes. And then if whoever gets left to me, if I'm wrong, it's because it's their fault, not my fault. I can feel better about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that philosophy there. Jeremy, what about you? Are you trying to get up to the 101? Or are you trying to trade back? If you have the 102, are you trying to trade up to the 101? Are you trying to trade back? From what I see, it probably takes a first, late, like the 102, and then a late first, really early second, or a mid second, and another second next year or something like that. So, for that kind of capital, would you be trading up to the 101, or would you rather be trading back, staying put?
I think it would be 100% situational. It's obvious that the 101 across the board is going to be GNT. I don't think his landing spot is going to be something that's going to impact that too much. You might have a sprinkling, maybe say 10% of the entire board of sleeper leagues might, take him elsewhere because he's landed in like a Raiders position or something on those lines. But no, at the 2, if I'm moving up, it's obviously for GNT. But with the way I think in this particular year, I'm not, because the only reason why I'm moving up would be for GNT, and I'm not doing that because of the running back class that we've highlighted a few times already on this pod, let alone in the past. It's deep this year. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of running backs that are significant caliber running backs that landing spot's going to help really tear them off into a high potential scorer. So I'm not moving up in this particular class because of the inevitable 101 being what position he is and being what that position being in depth is this year in regards to the draft.
Okay, so you obviously you don't want to go to the 101 is what it sounds like, obviously. Would you want to trade back from the 102, or do you think there's a player, again, depending, we're pre-draft here, but would you rather just stay at the 102 and pick your dude?
At this point, in my personal opinion, at this point, I'm held tight at the 102 because I think the 102 has significant value in this draft. Because again, the inevitable 101. Again, we can talk dynasty value in regards to players, sure, but in regards to options, in regards to the flexibility at the position, it's basically the 101 because we all know across the board again, Genti's going to go to the 102. Excuse me, the 101. So at that 102, depending on the leagues, you have the first pick at quarterback, you have the first pick at wide receiver, you have the first pick. If you have, you could choose whatever running back that you would want at that point, knowing that Genti's going to be gone. So I think that you have the most flexibility with the 102 at this point because you have the pressure of the Genti pick gone. Again, assuming in most leagues that pick is gone, but then you have whatever you want to do. So to that point, I would be open to listening to offers post-draft because, again, I like where I have my landing spots. But because of that flexibility, I think you have so many options to trade. I think you can trade back in the position in this magnitude because if you are seeking a running back, you have individuals who are going to be trading up for, say, the quarterback of Cam Ward, depending on, or the number one wide receiver in Tet at this moment. So I think you have more flexibility, more options with the 102 to hold off and wait until post NFL draft. If I have the 102 just by landing spot alone, I might need it, and I'm going to keep it. If I have traded up for the 102, I've traded up for the 102, being content with the 102. But to Jim's point, yeah, I would ask. So for the sake of our example, Jim's the 101 in our league. I'm the 102. I would ask him. Jim would probably charge me 4 first, so I would back out. But nevertheless, I would sniff. But I would be content with the 102 regardless.
Yeah, I think I would be willing to trade back. I think it goes back to your team build. I know, for me, I always had running backs last in my squad after building everything else up. So I think I would be okay trading back, getting the RB3, RB4 of this class and acquiring, an extra first plus draft capital. I think it just this is where you need to do your homework. Or my message to the viewers is know
your league,
know your tiers, know the class, right? Jeremy, you and I talked a lot about Jackson Dart a lot, right? And,
yeah.
And we need some things to happen, but hey, if he goes top 15 and goes to a good situation, there gives you 3 quarterbacks that you should draft just because of where they're going, and they're going to get chances, and they're going to get second chances, and and if you need a quarterback, hey, you've 3 chances, plus the running backs and receivers, yeah, you'll probably get one of the quarterbacks at the 106, 107, 108. So I think it's just knowing the situation, knowing what team needs. I know in the golf league, I've started going through and okay, what does the 102 need? What does the 103, 104? Because I'm at the 105, so I'm trying to gauge already, who do I think will be there? And that will also dictate, okay, I don't feel this guy's my guy, so I don't think he's going to be there, so now I'm going to try to move up. So I think stuff like that too. But yeah, I'd be willing to trade back. I think depending on what you need, if you're a bad team and you need a lot of things, one player is not going to fix that. So I would be 100% trying to move back. And if you're a quarterback away or something like that, then I'd probably make the pick. But I think it goes back to your league economy, your team, and what do you need at this moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we do have a few trades that we looked up here. So I just want to see what side of the coin you would be on, okay, for the 102. We're just going to go through a couple here. So 2025 102 for the 2026, a first round 2026, and the 108 this year. Jeremy, what do you think about that? Well, trade the 102 for a first round next year and the 108 this year. So you move back 7 spots.
If I have a particular player in mind, I am obviously not doing this because I don't care. I would be reaching at the 102 if I do have a particular player in mind, put it that way. I don't care if I'm reaching or not. I'm taking that 102. But if I don't have a particular player in mind, as if player X should be the 101 across all the boards, screw Gianti, I'm taking that deal. I'm taking that first next year, which I'll have the draft capital to do whatever I want with. And again, we've highlighted a few times, there is a few quarterbacks, 2, 3 quarterbacks in the top 10 that could go, that has a nice shotgun blast across that. You have a even more explosive shotgun blast with running backs in the top 10 this year. So I'm taking the 108 in the next pick next year, unless I have an absolute gut feeling on player X.
Absolutely. And Jim, I saw your reaction, so I wasn't going to ask you, but it seems like you really wanted to talk about this one.
Well, it is intriguing, right? Because I'm gonna predict that the 26 first is a mid first because the 108's a mid pick. I think it's clearly the 108 has a player in mind, so I understand them trying to move up, and I think that's a fair cost to move up. This is a move that probably the only thing I don't like about it is that it's the 26 first, so you're waiting a year and you're picking 6 picks further. I would probably want like a little bit extra on top just because you're making me wait an extra year with that first. But I mean, I think that's a reasonable cost for this year.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Out of curiosity, what would you want? Like a third or higher?
I think a second. I think just give me a second. Because I would probably want to get another shot in this class. Like, so I would love to get.
That's not a bad point.
They had like a mid to late second. Like, I would love to, like, give me the RB4 at the 108, then another RB in the mid second round, and then I still have that 26 first to play with, and that gives me more options for this year. So I think I would want just a little bit extra, just to, if it was 2 first and 25, I think I would take that easily. But you're making me wait a year. I think that there's always a tax for that.
I like that point.
So with that, Jim, I found another one that we didn't talk about earlier. I just found it now. 2025 102 for the 2026 first and the 2027 first.
This is where, like, I know I drive you crazy with this, and I'm sorry, but like, this is where I would need context, right? Like, if you're, here's why. Like, you're asking me to give up the 102. The odds of it being the 101 is probably very slim because I'm sure that there's a worse team out there. There's a reason why they got the 102. You're asking me to trade completely out of a draft, and then you're asking me to the bonus compensation is 2 years away. So I would be okay doing that, but I would need to know, like, hey, which first am I getting? Is this guaranteed the 102 and 26? And then possibly the 127, but I would say no, because the odds of it going to be better than the 102 I currently have. If you're going to ask me to trade out of a draft and it's the 102, I would need at least 3 firsts back.
Wow. Okay. We'll go back to Jeremy for this one then.
No.
102.
Nope. No, not. I'm doing 100% immediate rejection. I'm not going to worry about context or anything like that. This is, for me, when it comes to talking the significance of these top tier picks in a dynasty format, regardless of format, Superflex or whatever. When you have, say, a top 3, top 5 pick, the value of those is astronomical for either A, whatever value you need for your particular team, or B, whatever value you can obtain via trade. I am not trading a pick that I have 100% control of for 2 picks that I have 0% control of. I know, again, to say what I've repeated, like the 101, we know who the 101 is and he's gone. I can have my choice at that 102 or just 2 completely random picks that, to Jim's point, they're never going to succeed in an astronomical way that they would succeed in value at the 102. So I'm taking that 102 and running.
Well, and on top of that, like, the whole reason you're trading out a year is you're hoping the pick will be better next year. And the odds say it's not going to happen. So I need to be compensated for the fact that A, I'm losing, a top 5, 8 player at their position in Dynasty already. You're asking me to have 0 points out of that player already. Like, I just need to be fairly compensated for all those factors. And I still probably wouldn't do it.
And I would probably, in addition, the only way that I would do it is I would obtain both of those picks But then I would also need to obtain a decent player that I had targeted. For example, if I was targeting a wide receiver at that 102, then I would need a wide receiver of decent value in return, say, fresh off the news, a T. Higgins, a decent wide receiver two that I could plug in for that need of the 102 that I was going to utilize with a high tier pick.
Yeah.
So I would need to have some type of player, guaranteed player on top, no other draft capital. If I'm getting 2 future firsts, then I would want a guaranteed starter right now to at least help me out.
Well, and on top of that, like, let's be honest, if that was in one of our leagues, most likely the person that's trying to acquire the 102, their team's ready to go, right? They probably have some bonus draft capital. They're trying to make a big trade because they're probably close. So I'm not, huh?
No, nothing.
Like, I'm not gonna like just straight up help someone out by doing that. Like, I'm gonna, especially if they're in the hunt, like I'm gonna make it hurt even more because you're trying to make this big move to win now, and I'm like, I'm trying to not let you win. You know, like I'm trying to counterbalance, like keep the league healthy by not giving you a huge win at the 102. Like
Jeremy, when you said you wouldn't make the trade because you can't control when they are. What about the 102 for the 108 and the 114?
So that would be tough depending.
Got him thinking.
Do you want to collect your thoughts? I have a thought, Jeremy.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jim.
I think this is where I'm struggling, Mickey, and this is why I wanted to have this talk because I don't know how deep this class is yet. It's a deep class, but I don't know how deep the first round is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I think the seconds and thirds are more valuable this year than they were last year. But I don't know how deep the first round is. And, like, trading that far back, like, I have the 114 in our league, and I don't like that. I think that's too far back. Like, you know, like, and this is where I need the NFL draft. Like, I would not make this trade until to NFL draft night. And I know, okay, like,
yeah, this is
how many running backs are in a sweet spot? You know, like when Friday night hits, like Saturday morning, I'm waking up and I'm like, okay, how many people are going to go in the first round? How many people are worth a first round pick now? And then that's when I can start determining, do I need to move up or move back with that 114? And I think if we knew more, I think that's a fair price. I think the 114 feels a little far back still. Like if it was like the 1-8, 111, I think that I would probably accept that. But the 114, without knowing how real deep the first round is, that's where I'm struggling. And that's what I don't know, and that's what I need answers to at some point.
Not to take the copy homework aspect, but yeah, I mean, we know where we're at on my opinions toward the real draft occurrence. But yeah, I think I would definitely need to understand, okay, well, I want player blank and I want player blank. And so, I mean, getting the 2 current firsts allows me to have a little bit more fun with this year's draft. I think this year I would consider it once the draft was done, for targeting certain particular players. But like actively, again, right now I'm actively trying to move up. So who knows?
Yeah, so for me, out of all of these, this is the one that I would make. I pretty much think 10 out of 10. I would fall back because I do think either Cam Ward or Ted McMillan or Amarion Hampton aren't that far away from the 2 that you're going to get. Again, without location, but most of the time the first round picks don't matter about location. And again, this is just my opinion, but if you look at the last few years and you put this class up to the last few years, not many first round picks, in my opinion. Maybe 2, 3 guys out of the last few years would be in those first round picks. So I see it as the 1-1 to the 1-3, maybe 1-4 are the guys you need. And then you take the extra picks with the rest. So yes, it's a little bit of a premium, the 102, but I would make the move on the 108, the 114. Probably, like I said, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 times to get extra opportunities in this draft, particularly because they're so jammed right now. but I understand waiting until the NFL draft because then it'll kind of spread things out a little bit, hopefully. Which congested even more, though, which no one really thinks about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's guys that we're going to like in the second round, but all it takes is a few bad landing spots, a few guys going later in drafts. Things happen. Things, I think of what was it, the 22 or 23 class where like we like Zach Charbonnet, and this class was looking really great. The next thing you know, it died out. So that's where I'm like, I don't want to make that move too early. I think this year more than any year is I'm going to be on the clock and I'm going to wait. Like I don't know if I'll make a big move until then because of this. Like I don't want to trade too far back and then I'm trading out of a tier I can't get back into. I think that's the tricky part this year. And like last year you think about like last year's class, like we wouldn't even considered the 108 and then 114 for the 102, which could have been Caleb Williams, and I know they had better quarterbacks and stuff like that last year, and that changes the price a little bit. But yeah, like I understand the moves, but like that's where I'm struck this year. I'm afraid to get into negotiations with someone because I don't really know what it's going to take or what's going to make me say yes. Because I feel like no matter all these trades that we're seeing, Mickey, like in my mind, I'm like it just doesn't feel enough. But also like I have to keep telling myself this is not 24, this is 25, and it's just a different year. But also it still feels light, but those might be the best offers we're getting.
No, that's a great point. And with that, we're going to move on to the 105 here, which, yes, this again is Jimmy pick.
I have all three of them in my 3 leagues. I'm excited.
Of course you do. So with the 105, I wanted to pick this one because I think this is the beginning of this third tier, in my opinion. It's like a half a step down, maybe. So what my question is do you try to jump up into the 102, 103, hold at the 105, or are you trying to trade this back as well to get more picks later in the draft or in the future year?
See, I'm in a position here where it's like I have 2 firsts this year. Now, we won't go too crazy on the pick numbers because it's the 6 and we're talking the 5, so we won't be to death too much. But like if I was at a 5, I think I would be okay moving back and having 2 later firsts if that's what you said was on the table. I would be okay with moving back a little bit because of the wealth of the running back position spread out. And because we're talking so much about the running back position, the wide receivers are going unnoticed. So, like, there's so many people that are going to be trying to gobble up the running backs because there is so many, and there's so many ones that have so much of a great player profile, but no one's talking the wide receivers. And I think that's going to be fun to see exactly how those play out in the first round.
Jim, do you agree with that, or would you kind of do something different there?
I don't know. I mean, like I struggle with this because I see the benefits of, like I said, I'm someone that likes to be in control. I don't like other people making the picks for me because I've always had player crushes in the past. So I'm trying not to do that this year. So I'm trying to like let things fall to me, but I probably will be trying to trade up just to make those choices because, especially I'm thinking of our golf league where like I need everything. So does it make sense to trade up when it probably would cost me a first? Probably not. But I mean, I once again, I think knowing your league, like if you want Amari and Hampton, the odds of him being there probably are not. If you love Ted McMillan and the guy at the 102 needs a receiver, guess what you're probably going to have to do? Trade up. So I think it's one of those things where, once again, this is where if this was last year, I'd be saying different things. I would probably wait to see who's available with the 105, and then if it's, I still like some running backs there because there's going to be about 3 or 4 running backs that are all in that same tier with you. Have Caleb Johnson, you got Quinton Duncan, you got Travion Henderson.
Yes.
It's going to be a matter of who you like, and if you're okay with any of them, that's where I'd be trading back. I think with running back and quarterback, they're going to receiver and quarterback, it's going to fall off the cliff quickly. So, if you're desperate for a quarterback or receiver, I'd probably be taking one there. If you just need running backs, I probably would trade back and let other people decide that pick for me.
Interesting. With that being said, this is one trade that I saw that you could move up to the 103. and I want to see what you think. The 105, the 103 for the 105, and the 303.
Yes,
If
easily
it only costs a third, right?
done.
Done.
I'd hit accept all day. I can't believe that actually went through. To be 100% honest.
But
And,
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
That's a bad move on the manager from the 105 because that trade's always going to be there, right? Like, wait, no, from the 103 owner.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I was going to say 105 is stealing.
No. Like that. There's no reason you don't need to make that trade today. Like, if that's the best you can get, just wait. Like, you have 7 weeks. The pick's just going to keep getting more and more valuable, and that's where, like, I think being impatient, or probably as buying. Oh, I love the one. I can get a great player at the 1-5, free third, but like that's a trade you make the day of the weekend.
Yeah, with the last minute of the clock.
Yeah, like if they can't get anything better.
Yeah, if you can't get anything better than a third and a 5 or if you can't get anything better than the 5 in the third round, then like that has to be a last minute pick. I fully agree that you should be able to obtain way more for that. I should know. I'm trying to shop.
Oh yeah, and you and I've talked, and like we've trust me. My hesitation is like, why right now? So like, am I missing? Like, do I want to do it right now? That's I'm struggling with that this year. Like, it's bad because it's really holding up anything I want to do because I can't. I don't know what the value is this year. I'm having a real hard time with that this year. But I can guarantee you one thing: a third round pick is definitely not enough for sure.
No, but like to me, this is where my control factor is. I would 10 times out of 10 much rather have egg on my face and be the wrong one than have a player that I want fall one pick ahead of me. That's where I'm at. So like I would much rather try to be trading or keeping the value of those higher picks too, because I unlike Jim, like I kind of like to have that control factor. I would rather be wrong on player X than lose out on player X.
Because especially if you're trying to trade up, there's probably a player you have in mind, and otherwise there's no reason for it. Like so I mean that's where I just like know your tiers more and more, and like that's where I'm struggling. I don't have I know Ashton Jetty, but I know some other things, but like I don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about, we kind of beat death, but it is going to be. This is the one year that like things are going to change drastically depending on where these people go. And it doesn't even matter what round, in my opinion, right now. It matters what team.
Yeah.
Outside of Genty and maybe Tet, everybody else is a crapshoot where they're going to be because we don't know where they're going.
And that's probably one reason of several why I'm trying to obtain value here. I don't have a player in mind. It's kind of where I disagree slightly with what Jim was saying. Like I necessarily don't have a few players in mind, but I don't want to be the one to miss out on player X because I have pick 13 when I could potentially. I don't want to have FOMO here, where what if I can move up here? What if I can obtain what picks here before the value increases? So I don't have players in mind per se. I have positions in mind. I have my players of lists in those said positions, but I don't have particular player. I'm definitely grabbing this person if I get the 102 because I would need to see how April falls.
But I think on top of that, though, I think we both agree no matter what the 113, 114, like we are trying to move up, right? Like that just makes sense.
Yes.
So we might not be trying to trade up there for a specific player, but we are definitely trying to move up there. I'm talking more about like if you're trying to go from the 105 to 102, there's probably a player in mind.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, I apologize. Yes, and that's probably why I'm hoarding my 106 because it's more value at this point. I don't have a player. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah, if you're making a move like this, especially the one that gave up the 303, probably for quarterback is my guess. Because why would you just move up 2 spots unless you have to have Cam Ward? Because everything else is so watered down. Or someone let Genty or Tet fall. That's kind of the only other 2 options in my eyes. But moving on, the 105 for 2026 second, and 2025 seconds, the 202 and the 203. Gives you a little bit more ammunition this year as well. But thoughts on that?
So the 202 and 203 for the 105?
And a second round in 2026.
I would. I don't want to be Jim, but I would need context. The league size is important here.
Oh yeah, it's Superflex tight end premium, 10 team start 10, 6-point pass touchdown, 1 point PPR.
I am doing that. 10 team, I'm doing that.
I am not. I am
It's a
not
12th
doing
and
it.
13th pick, so
Yeah, I am not doing that from the 105 owner. I am keeping the 105.
Again, you're going by need here. I guess that's where we're going with. I'm going by need here. If I'm willing to move back from the 105, then I'm content taking whatever's available at running back or wide receiver that falls to me. So I guess that's the mind frame here.
For me, it's only 100 starters. Like, I want the best of the best. I don't need depth pieces. And that's probably what you're drafting. You're hoping these guys in the second round they'll get a spot start. You can flip them for maybe 2 seconds later on, but they're not going to be like game changers. 105 is I'm probably drafting a game changer, so I'm not doing that. I'm not watering down my whiskey drink. I just want the straight shot of whiskey and giving that up the 105.
And then last one here, 105 for Kenneth Walker. I just was kind of curious where you think the 105 is versus where Kenneth Walker is.
You need to add to Kenneth Walker, I think.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Jim?
I think you need to add to the Kenneth Walker side to get that deal. Like, it's just like there's just enough like stink on him. Like, he can't stay healthy. He has these oblique injuries. Yeah. Like, I think he's a good running back.
We have no idea what the hell Seattle's putting on that field next year. No idea.
They're probably becoming a little more.
I'm saying no to it. I don't know if I'm saying no to that straight. I'll answer your question, Ray. I'll say no to that straight. If it's 105 for a Walker straight up, there's no chance. It's not pre NFL draft or post, because in post I'm going to know what running back I'm going to want at 5. I'm not taking that.
Yeah, I don't want to. I understand the Kenneth owner. Like, you're trying to re-roll Kenneth Walker into a new running back probably, and but I don't know the hype, the artificial dynasty value that we talk about. That 105 just has so much more hype, so much more value at this point than Kenneth Walker, who, this will make Jeremy happy, is Kenneth Walker's the better back right now than whoever is at the 105, but there's no hype around him. It's something that I won't be able to resell for nearly as much down the road.
Wow. Okay, I did not expect that. I thought that was going to be a lock for Kenneth Walker, to be honest with you. I would make this trade in a heartbeat.
Would you, Jeremy? Would you do Kenneth Walker and a mid-second for the 105?
Mid-second, no. Too much unknown on Walker, man. And I'm a Spartan fan. I mean, like, I no, man. There's too many question marks with Walker in regards to, not that he's old, but he does have some tread on him. He does have that injury. And again, we have no idea what we're walking into in Seattle. And this is why I support the post-draft trades on these ones, because again, I can say, well, I have no idea what player X is walking into. Yeah, well, I will come May 1st. So that's kind of where I view it. So I would not do the mid-second. Early second, depending on teams in per league, you could twist my arm maybe, but mid-second now.
Wow, you guys value this draft a little bit stronger than I do, or just dislike Kenneth Walker more than I do. That's interesting.
I think I'm in the middle tier between. If those are my two options, I'll meet you in the middle, Mick.
All right. So to break this up real quick, we wanted to discuss Justin Fields. This is kind of for me, to be honest with you. He's one of the guys that I put on the trade block the minute that I found out he's going to be a starter with the New York Jets, or should be a starter with the New York Jets. We don't know that 100%. But what are your thoughts? Does this move the needle at all for you for Justin Fields? Obviously, he started for the first 6 games for the Steelers, ended up being the backup for really no good reason because of Russell Wilson, and was the better fantasy option. So fantasy players were obviously upset, but Russell Wilson has the pedigree of winning. Justin Fields not so much. So what is your thought about Justin Fields being with the Jets now?
Let's ask you. You're the one who posted him on the trade block. Where do you see his value right now in the dynasty realm?
I see his value as the highest it possibly will be in his career right now. He has 1, maybe 2 years to prove himself, and if he doesn't, he's done. So I also have Drake May and Michael Penix, so I'm okay losing a quarterback.
So what would it? So like, I know we're kind of putting you on your spot. Like, what would it take for you to get rid of it? Because like that's the thing. Like,
let's make this a little bit more personal here. Like, 3 days prior to Justin Fields hitting the block, I gave Justin Fields a little heart once he signed with the Jets.
Oh, hey, you've never given me a heart.
Oh, I've given you my heart. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I have Jim around my finger for all these years.
It hasn't helped with trades yet, but it could.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, it could. Potential could. So, but here's the deal. So we'll take it one step further. So, yeah. So, I mean, how do you see Fields' value here in regards to this?
Do you mean
get back on Fields here?
Before the trade happened or after the trade?
Right now, present time. Jim's
right
question.
Now, he's a starting quarterback. In fantasy wise, he's a top 10. He's a top 10 quarterback, pretty much hands down. So it's probably a first, maybe 2 plus, depending on where those firsts are.
You said 2 first?
Probably, yeah. I mean, how much would you pay for a top 10 quarterback?
But
fantasy wise, you have to remember, fantasy wise only. I'm not saying he's anywhere near.
But has he ever been a top 10 quarterback?
He was a top 10 quarterback 4 out of the 6 weeks last year.
In a week, you making it sound like he was a top 10 quarterback for a season.
He was in Chicago.
Okay, let's give the viewers some context. Is this a 14-team Superflex, start 10?
Yeah, and I also, right. And I have...
Hold on. I'm curious at that price tag of the 2 firsts here because you just valued him and his significantly dangerously fragile shelf life. You just advised that he was good for a year or two. If he could be out of the league in 2 years. Well, any first-round pick that I give you is going to be in the league longer than 2 years, pairing any type of injury or complete suckage. But now that these NFL contracts come into play with these rookie picks, you're drafting a guy who is going to have significant value in a first round. So odds are these dudes are going to be around for 3, 4, 5 years of their rookie deals. So you mean to tell me that you value Justin Fields, who is now on his 3rd team, where he has not been so successful at all on any of the other teams. He's on his 3rd team. You're going to charge me 2 first-round picks for a guy who could potentially be benched at the end of this year.
So are you saying he's unsuccessful in fantasy? Because that's incorrect. Or in NFL. NFL, he is unsuccessful. But in fantasy, he was every time he touches the field, he is a top 10 to top 12 back. He might have bad games because everyone has bad games. Josh Allen had a dud this year, but he also led the league in fantasy. Justin Fields throughout his career in Chicago in his 6 games with the Pittsburgh Steelers was a fantasy option, first quarterback or QB1 fantasy option.
I'm just a little surprised by the 2 firsts. That's all.
I say 2 first. I said 1 first or 2 first, depending on where the first is.
That's a significant jump between 1 and 2 firsts.
I feel
I'm a little bit too personally involved in this, so I'll let Jim take the floor a little bit here.
Well, I think, speaking to the listeners again, like, I think there's a couple of things that, in context, that are like this demand for quarterbacks in the golf league have not reached highs yet. A lot of teams are comfortable with where they're at quarterback-wise, so I don't think the market for our league, I'm just talking about specifically with golf league, is worthy of that, in my opinion. But he is a starter. He's never been a good starter. I think he has a very tight leash. I mean, I don't know. Someone that I'd probably pay a couple seconds for. In my opinion, if I needed a quarterback 2, quarterback 3. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things to take into account when you're trying to make trades like this. I agree, Mickey. This is probably his peak value right now, unless he has back-to-back weeks where he goes berserk during the season, where you could probably flip him for more. But I mean, at the end of the day, he signed it. He's guaranteed for a year, and there's no guarantee he'll finish the year. But I mean, I understand why you're trying to sell him at peak value. I think that's the things you have to take into account, like contract and how good are they? How long's the leash? Do they have a guy in waiting? Look at the guaranteed money of contracts. he's had one good season. He's not a great passer. So yeah, those things, And
no, but we are talking about fantasy here, and
yeah,
he's had multiple over 30-point games.
Yeah, but I mean,
multiple.
But he also got benched. He's been benched twice now. Players don't come back from that.
And he didn't play at all last year.
First 6 games. Yeah.
But okay. He's inconsistent. I know I get what you're trying to say. He had 2 top 10 finishes. He had 3 top 10 to 20 finishes. And he had 1 outside the 20 top finish. He's. You look at outside of the 34-point game, he's around 15 to 20 points a game, and that's replaceable. I can go spend. I can go buy. Players that are going to be out. Backups that come in and start, and they can give you that. But your face looks confused.
Yeah, I'm confused because you're saying you can buy backup.
No, I'm just saying in a situation where, not to sound again, Mickey, you know where I stand on this one. Not to sound like Jimmy, but know your league. Know your league is the situation here. Look at the value of what the quarterback trades have gone through in golf. Justin Fields doesn't hold a candle to some of the quarterbacks that have went with Jalen Hurts and Jalen Daniels and stuff like that.
No, you're right, absolutely. But at the same token, I don't have to trade him.
No, you don't.
I'm not worried about it. I like him as a number 3 quarterback. And I still do expect to have 4 starting quarterbacks on my roster. And at that point, someone has to need a quarterback.
All right, let's do this. Who would you rather have, J.J. McCarthy or Justin Fields?
J.J. McCarthy.
Right now, Justin Fields. Fantasy-wise.
See, no, I'm going to differentiate here because, again, I'm going by shelf life. My argument why I don't feel Fields is worth the 2 firsts. I'm going with I need to find out what the hell Old Man Rivers is doing. If Rodgers ends up in Minnesota, I gotta wait and see it out. But if the Rodgers ends up not in Minnesota, I'm taking McCarthy over Fields.
So you always talk about unproven, right, Jeremy? You would take a fully unproven player versus someone who has been good in fantasy.
Yeah, I'm taking, in a dynasty format, I'm taking the longevity of J.J. McCarthy versus a guy who could be benched at the end of the year. A guy who has very sporadic fantasy value points. But when you're going with that, you keep beating the fantasy value aspect, which is true. But you also have to incorporate real life into a dynasty standard, and that's what impacts his value. You can hype up his sticker price all you want, but when it comes to the end of it, I know bearing a catastrophic another knee injury or Aaron Rodgers pushing his weight around, J.J. McCarthy has a significantly longer and more secure leash than Justin Fields.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
I can agree with that because they both have no one behind them right now.
That's where I stand on it. I could see say again, this is not we're not pitching offers here, but I could see you asking for my 113. I could see something like that, and a second thrown in there, or your second back, or you and your wife's second for next year, something like that. I could see some type of mix of there, but to give up 2 first-round picks for the shelf life spooks me. The numbers are right. I'm not saying he sucks. There's a reason why I was interested in him. Not to oversell him, but I agree with you in regards to his fantasy production. I have a soft spot for the bros before hoes and college aspect. So we have the Garrett Wilson now connection. We have, just like the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection. I like that kind of stuff. I like that. So that is another thing that's interesting because you have now Garrett Wilson and Fields catching passes from Fields, not Aaron Rodgers or Zach Wilson. So we have Garrett Wilson stocks now that could potentially rise. So I get you what you're saying here. But I'm going when it goes to the dynasty aspect. That I think the 2 first, in my opinion, the 2 first is overvalued. I think it's just looking at the way the league has gone, the way that the quarterbacks are being valued, to Jim's point, in the golf league it's right now, and considering the unknowns affiliated with Fields and the leash that we have both mentioned, not to mention any potential injury, re-injury that he has. Let's get real. He has not played football since week 6. He has not played significant football since week 6, and he's a mobile quarterback. Mobile quarterbacks' percentages of injuries skyrocket amongst those who can't handle it in the pocket. So we're dealing with that aspect as well. Those are the different factors that come into play. So when you're asking for 2 firsts of crisp, clean rookies coming into the system who have already a longer leash without even touching a pigskin in the NFL, that to me is a little bit of a sticker shock.
All right.
I think last thing I'll say is I think that, and that's where like, what makes good owners.
I guess I'm trying to get Jim's opinion here. I guess, again, please, because like I feel that I'm too personally involved in this because of said interest.
Well, I think a couple of things, right? Like, Mickey has every right to ask for that price, and if that's what he believes, that's
100%. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what makes a good owner is either Mickey's going to die on that hill and he'll be QB3, QB4 on that team, which means, either he won't be scoring points for that player all year, or he can trade for something that will give him points, or he could wait for a better value time, which could be during the season, or this could be it. I think being flexible. The league will tell him if he's right or wrong.
I guess my approach was simply that I'm looking at it this year. I'm looking for certain positions, and I have 2 first-round picks. I'm looking for certain positions to strengthen my roster. If I can strengthen my roster with these picks via trade, I will. And I guess that's how I was regards to sniffing in that territory.
Well, and I think on top of that too, then that's where like if I was in the market for quarterback, and I go to Mickey and he says 2 late first for Justin Fields, then I'm like we talk all the time about don't look at the player, look at the potential points, and I feel like I could get those points from someone else much cheaper. But I mean, hey, someone else might love him. Mickey traded a second for him, so I'm sure he's probably trying to accrue more value than a second for him. But this would be the time to sell if he wants to try to do that. But I'd be curious what he gets. I'll be watching very closely.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's no guarantee that for me personally, there's no guarantee that I'm going to sell him either, because he is. There is a chance that he actually ends up throwing out 30, 40-point game, and then I sell him. But we wanted to talk about him because I think he's the one who, in a lot of people's eyes, changed the most because he was a backup and became a starter after being benched, right? Like, he was nothing week 7 through 16 or whatever you want to say until he ended up getting that contract with the Jets that we didn't know if he was going to get or not, right? Because I know the Steelers offered him something as well, but there was no guarantee he was going to stay with the Steelers after the way he kind of treated them. So that's why we wanted to bring up Justin Fields so much. Was me and Jimmy were talking last week, and he was the biggest needle mover. Wouldn't you agree, Jim?
Yeah, he is, but I think he's just somebody you can sell now. Like I think before, like he was a backup. We didn't know what was going to happen to him. I mean, I think he feels very fortunate that he got starter money and he's starting. But yeah, I think it's the biggest needle mover from the aspect that I think you can trade him now. You can get him off your team, and you don't have to hold up that roster spot anymore. And first 2 seconds he'd be off my team, and I'd be like, okay, what can I do next? Just keep the cycle going. But I think that's why you hold a lot of these backup quarterbacks is, hopefully they'll start. There'll be a small sell window, and make sure you take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I kind of wanted to get your opinion because you have like 15 backups on your team there. So
I mean, we talked about Anthony Richardson.
Real used to this idea, right?
Yeah, he's coming next week too, and that's the same thing. Like there's small sell windows, and I think Fields is in a sell window, and you could craft that narrative, right? He's a starter. He's got Garrett Wilson, new coach, and they're going to try to build around him and hopefully support him better. But I still don't think he's very good. But you can sell that narrative, and you can probably sell that to someone and buy him, and someone can buy him off you, and that's and we talk all the time too about like, hey, what is a bench spot worth? And I'd rather be able to sell him for a couple seconds and add a running back and a receiver on my team, or maybe another quarterback, and just keep that cycle going over and over and over again.
Interesting. Me personally, I hate talking about players that I actually have and are on my own trade block because
it's awkward. Yes,
it's really awkward. But we did the best we could here.
No personal feelings, Mick. No, none whatsoever. We can discuss
also knowing that you're interested in him didn't help. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm not underselling him to you right now.
Fair enough.
I still want to get a trade done on the podcast.
Fully transparent. Well, there's multiple offers out, actually multiple people interested, so I can't do that right now. But obviously we don't have too much time left. The 112 we were going to talk about, but we'll talk about that another time. Jeremy, was there something you wanted to say? Sorry.
No, I was just saying, you said there was multiple offers. You can't make the trade on the phone. And I said, that's fine, not for 2 firsts. So, good luck.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. So, anyway, unless you guys had something else you wanted to kind of finalize with our trade talk, we're going to get out of here.
Okay. I'm good.
All good? Yeah. Jeremy, any last words?
No, I think we covered everything really well, and I hope... I'm gonna make it my absolute damnedest, one way or another. I will have a trade to discuss about golf, about a trade in golf next week.
Yeah, I got a real crappy one today. I was very disappointed. I was going to talk about it on the podcast, and it was really terrible.
Well, tell us what it was.
It was I had the 105, and the guy wanted he offered the 111 and John Vontae Williams for the 105.
Oh, if you accept that, I got the 111 and pick a crappy player, whoever you want.
Yeah, I told him try that crap on someone else, and he started laughing.
Yeah, me too.
But there's a story about Javonte Williams right now. He's the starting running back. You could sell someone on that.
For $3 million.
For long, but he technically is the starting running back right now.
Yep. All up until April 24th, 5th, 6th, one of those 3 days.
Yeah.
So... And if they don't get Genty, he's still going to be a starter, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, on that note, since we tapped out on the trades here, I'm Mickey for Jimmy and Jeremy. This has been Dynasty with the Mountaintops. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Podbean, also Apple, as well as email us at dynastymttops@gmail.com. And check us out on social. We're still working out the kinks, learning social media, at least on my side. But you can check us out on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Give us any feedback you would like there as well. For Jeremy, Jimmy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty from Mountaintops. Have a great rest of your week.
Okay, see you guys.